somewhere in the neighborhood of 13 to 13.5 billion pesos per year would be required to fund the programs in this my question is, with the difficulty of government now in raising revenues and with the different programs that are trying to get funding for what is believed to be very noble causes in the country, and with the lack of support of the agricultural sector, we only have about 52 billion pesos this year in budget for our agricultural industry. Perhaps allocating an additional 13.5 billion per year would be better served. It would better serve certainly the people in the rural areas if that 13.5 billion pesos were put in agriculture to increase the productivity of our farmers and fishermen and to uplift local farm economies themselves so that they themselves can decide intelligently without any question the size of their families and the way that they would like to raise them. I wonder what Mr. Speaker, what our distinguished colleague can say to the lack of capability of this present administration in addressing the shortfall of the agricultural sector and perhaps exacerbating that by the introduction of these new programs that they are proposing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor. I do not think that none of the proponents of the bill that foresee this very high amount of 30 billion that is projected for the bill. Indeed, if you look at the provision of the bill for this year, it says that whatever is left over from the Department of Budget that goes in family concerns, that will be the allocation for this year. And I believe that 2012 budget, with respect to this particular place in the Department of Budget, there is about a 2.5 billion allocation that is there, and that is really we're really talking about figures around that range. However, what I would say, Mr. Speaker, is that we're not seeing that this bill for the RH will be funded at the expense of other government programs. Indeed, for instance, we are, if you look at the sources of funds that we can have at this point, there are various sources of funds that can come from various mechanisms that we can draw on. One is we could, for instance, eliminate support for unnecessary programs. And I think in the budget process, we were able to identify so many unnecessary programs. We can also look at special sources of funding, such as the Malapaya Fund, which is a source of funding that could be devoted to various programs, including education, including agriculture, including the RH bill. And of course, one of the things that we would like to point out to here, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, is we have such a big allocation for the debt servicing. I believe that there's about 700 billion pesos, 20 to 22% of our budget is now devoted to debt servicing, and this is for debts that have been paid many times over. And let me just say here that certainly this has been done in the past. because in 2009, for instance, several $1 billion was reallocated for realign from debt servicing to local programs because precisely of the fact that debt servicing was taking up so much money from the rest of our programs. And we can say, Mr. Speaker, we have identified, for instance, that in terms of corrupt debts, the Freedom from Debt Coalition has identified all new debts, debts that we should never have entered into in the first place, or were very unjust debts, that this alone, if you look at this list of about 20 debts that you can justifiably not pay and win in court, we have about $7.5 billion, $7.5 billion worth of very corrupt, clearly unjust debts. So my point here, Mr. Speaker, is that both from the revenue side, which I've not elaborated on, as well as the expenditure side, there is money that can be raised not only for our age, but at the same time for education, for agriculture, and for health. So I do not think it's a question of either or, it's a question of both. And if we have indeed the political will to make the hard decisions to make sure that we raise this money and reallocate this money.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm very glad that I was able to answer a few questions from my distinguished colleagues, and of course, this information will be passed on to my constituents. And again, thank you very much for the time, dear colleague, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you to our dear friend from Gayan. I really enjoyed very much the exchange that we've had, and we sincerely hope that you will support our bill. Thank you very much.
Speaker,